Now you may have clicked on this video after looking at that thumbnail and thought to yourself, Mercedes aren't a British team, it's Mercedes. Everybody on this planet and their mentally challenged dog knows that Mercedes is as German can be. I mean, we even had that guy, what's his name? The guy with the mustache, I can't remember, but anyway, he had one too. So while you may be right in saying that Mercedes themselves is in fact German, the origin of the Mercedes F1 team, the team that came out of nowhere to make F1 a glorified lullaby for 8 years straight, can actually be traced back to a small team founded in England. So screw you England, look what you did. In 1958, the Tyrell Racing organization was founded by a relatively young Ken Tyrrell. Who is Ken Tyrrell, you ask? How dare you? Let me just check Google. Just kidding, I've already done my research. Ken Tyrrell was a former motorsport driver. He drove in multiple junior single-seater categories up until Formula 2, where he sadly came to the crippling realization that he just wasn't suited for the pinnacle of motorsport. So he gave up, went home, opened a tub of ice cream, and spent the rest of his days watching TV. Just kidding, they didn't have TVs back then, remember? The dinosaurs were still around. No, Ken didn't give up. Instead, he transitioned to the world of motorsport management. Doesn't sound as fun, but trust me when I say this guy had it in him. Tyrrell is one of the greatest factors when it comes to the success of the legend himself, Jackie Stewart. In fact, Jackie was discovered by Ken himself, and they went on to win 3 F1 championships together. Well, one wasn't in a Tyrrell chassis because of course they didn't make their own in 1969, but it was still the same team with Ken Tyrrell as the team principal. Over the years, they managed to rack up 23 wins, 14 pole positions, and of course a Constructors' Championship, which is ultimately the end goal for any Formula 1 team ever. And you may also know Tyrrell for this abomination right here, the Tyrrell P34, a 6-wheel F1 car. I said abomination, but when this thing hit the track for the first time, it proved to be quite quick. And then at the 1976 Swedish Grand Prix, Jody Scheckter and Patrick Depailler brought the car home for a 1-2 finish. And that made Jody the first and only ever Formula 1 driver to ever win in a 6-wheeler. Obviously there won't ever be any others unless the FIA and Formula 1 lose it. So that makes Schechter's record all that more special. And just to clarify, the P34 wasn't the only ever 6-wheeler, but no other 6-wheeler ever came close to the performance Tyrrell's brought. But what wasn't so special was the team's later years. From the late 1970s, everything kinda went down for Tyrrell after their main sponsor, Elf, decided to leave them in favor of the Frenchies. The thing is, what a lot of people don't exactly know is Tyrrell didn't come from a massive corporation backed by money and manpower. No, the first few F1 cars were actually designed in Ken's famous shed, which he used as his workshop at the time. And knowing what they went on to accomplish from there is incredibly impressive and actually inspiring. But that doesn't keep an F1 team going on forever, because if it did, any team could succeed by the power of friendship. So in 1997, the team was sold to British American Tobacco. Ah yes, the time lung cancer literally ran Formula 1. The team was then renamed to BAR, which stands for British American Racing. While BAR never actually saw a race win in their stint from 1995 to 2005, they still managed some impressive results. In their 7 years active in the sport, they scored 15 podiums, with 4 of them being P2s from 2004. That being their greatest ever season, in which they finished second in the constructors' standings and had Jenson Button finish in third in his second ever season with the team. Of course, Jenson had a pretty nice history with this team, and I'm not just talking about BAR. But some other notable drivers were the likes of Jacques Villeneuve, Mika Salo, who also drove for Tyrrell, Takuma Sato, and of course, how could I forget about Anthony Davidson, who some of you may also know as the Sky Sports guy. But at the end of the 2005 season, Honda, who of course supplied their engines to BAR, outright bought the team just to send them into a few years of good old depression. Not only were they about as fast as my 1.2-liter Polo, but they were also way less reliable. Thanks VW. Inconsistent is probably the best way to describe Honda's stint as a Formula 1 constructor, making dodgy car after dodgy car. And to make matters even worse, the whole time they had Jenson Button under contract, so he was essentially wasting his career over there. And just to add fuel to the fire, guess who was alongside him? Oh yeah, Rubens Barrichello. So 2 absolutely banging drivers were being held back from doing, well, anything really. But at the end of 2008, both Jenson and Rubens' prayers were answered because Honda was being sold for a whopping £1. Yeah, that's right, a Formula 1 team was sold for literally pocket change. Now, while it sounds absolutely crazy, it wasn't really that simple. Don't get me wrong, the team was actually sold for £1. That's factual. But not anybody could just walk over to Honda HQ and put in a £10 bid. The man who bought the team was Ross Braun, Honda's team principal at the time. So essentially, to put it in short terms, Honda was struggling, and I mean struggling hard. So they wanted to sell the team on one condition: that they keep racing in Formula 1. But pretty much everyone who wanted to buy Honda wanted to disband it and sell its assets. But Braun, of course, wanted to continue racing. So instead of paying £100 million, liquidating and costing many people their jobs, they decided that handing their failing business to Ross Braun was a better alternative. And since this is like the most overtold story in F1 history, literally everybody on this planet has heard it by now, and I bet if you asked your parents or even your goldfish, they'd tell you on the spot. Of course it went well. In their first year ever, Braun GP won the Constructors title and the Drivers' Championship, with Jenson Button of course being the championship winner. It's basically a fairy tale, but real life, so technically not a you know what I mean. What makes it all so much more impressive though is not only was pretty much 99% of the team still the Honda team from before, you know, the one that made the eye-watering 2008 car. Yeah, not only did they make a fast car out of absolutely nowhere, but they also had to adapt it to a Mercedes engine, since of course they used Honda engines before. So think of it this way, whatever plan they had for the 2009 car, it was with a Honda engine in mind, because the engineers weren't a bunch of psychics. They didn't know they'd be switching to a Mercedes engine. So essentially they had to throw that out the window and come up with something new in a few months. And they did. How insane is that? Anyway, apparently Ross Braun hates the feeling of winning, because right after, the team was sold again, for the last time, for now anyway. And you and I are both extremely familiar with who bought it. Mercedes. They started off alright in the midfield, with two brand new drivers, Nico Rosberg and Michael Schumacher of course, and up until 2014, they slowly but surely got faster. In 2013, Hamilton made the crazy move from McLaren to Mercedes to replace Schumacher, and the rest is history. Looking back on Mercedes' domination, my mind will never change. It made watching grass grow look exciting, but I'll never say that it wasn't impressive or that it wasn't deserved or anything like that, because that would be stupid. I know it's hard for some people to accept, but it was crazy. Something I hope won't ever happen again, but it's cool to know that it's in the past. So even though Mercedes the team are technically German, yes, the current team came to be from a small shed in Surrey, England. And over the years, as Tyrell, BAR, Honda, Braun and Mercedes, they amassed 166 wins, 10 Constructors Championships, and 12 Drivers' Championships. Do what you will with that information, but I think it's pretty cool knowing where an F1 team originated from. But let me know in the comments what you think, and if you did enjoy this video and want to see more like it, be sure to like and subscribe to help with the growth of this channel. But really, thanks for watching, have a blessed one, and hopefully I'll catch you in the next video. Bye bye.